1989.
An astonished foreign media, originally in Beijing to cover the visit of Russian leader Gorbachev, witnesses instead the demonstrations of Chinese students in Tiananmen Square and broadcasts them worldwide.
And this is Tiananmen Square. Today, it's the People's Square, all right. More than 1 million Chinese demanding democracy and freedom and proclaiming the new revolution.
Unbelievable. We all came here to cover a summit and we walked into a revolution.
Thousands of university students gathered in Tiananmen Square to demand fundamental political reform of the Chinese bureaucracy. The demonstrations end tragically when the intervention of the People's Liberation Army. But 1989 was not the first time Chinese university students took to the streets. They did it also 70 years earlier on May 4, 1919,
a pivotal moment of the modern Chinese Revolution.
But what did cause that unexpected explosion in 1919?
What and who were behind the fundamental transformation of Chinese society?
Different events and people over several years have contributed to China's transformation, from quasi-colony of the Western powers and Japan to a free and independent nation-state.
Coincidentally or not, quite a few of those episodes all took place in 1917. The episodes are individually of varied importance, and none of them could have singly sparked the student uprising of May 4th. The benefit of historical reflection allows us today to understand how the events of 1917 acted as a catalyst and signaled the beginning of China's struggle towards freedom, independence, and modernity. Tsai Ing-wen begins his tenure as Chancellor of Beijing University and immediately sets out to dismantle the traditional Confucian education system. His revolutionary reforms and the progressive environment he encouraged quickly transformed Beijing University. Influenced by his experiences in Germany and France, his radical practice of allowing the coexistence of divergent opinions became a powerful pole of attraction for the most gifted and diverse Chinese intellectuals. Tsai strongly believed that scholarly pursuit was linked with personal morality. Pure interest in learning, uncorrupted by career concerns, was the complement to ethical behavior and personal integrity. Tsai initiated a moral rectitude drive, condemning brothel hopping, gambling, and drug consumption.
Although Tsai's major focus was the humanities, he believed students also needed Western sciences. He insisted, though, also on moral training to avoid the arrogance and aggression that characterized the capitalist way of life.
In a China that questioned the moral authority of its leaders, Tsai's university modernizations and his impressive faculty had a deep and everlasting influence on the students of Beijing University.
The class of 1917 started to believe they could actually influence Chinese society. They started different student associations and journals, politically diverse, but all determined to modernize China.
Tsai Ing-wen did not directly instigate the May 4th student uprising. He may even have been surprised by it. But the Beijing University that Tsai created incubated the social and political movement born on that day. China's most radical journal, New Youth, publishes an article titled "On the Literary Revolution," an all-out attack on the elitist classical language. The authors were Chun Du-shu, Dean of Humanities at Beijing University and editor of New Youth, and Hu Shi, soon to become Professor of Philosophy at Beijing University. Often on different wavelengths, the two become allies in forcefully advocating the adoption of the vernacular. New Youth was founded in 1915 by Chun Du-shu. It became the publication of the most important intellectuals, theoretical writings molding the beliefs of a whole generation of young students. Educated at Cornell and at Columbia with John Dewey, Hu Shi believed literature as an art must perform a social function and concern itself with the urgent issues of the day.
To reach people, the vernacular needed to become the medium for a modern Chinese literature.
Hu Shi's first article was moderate and tentative in tone. Hu Shi's approach was cautious, perhaps more in line with his temperament of conscious evolution. Chun Du-shu was of a different nature, emotional, patriotic, and action-oriented. On the Literary Revolution was a dramatic repudiation of China's social and cultural traditions. The Literary Revolution was a resounding success. The vernacular was adopted by New Youth magazine and helped increase its circulation greatly. New writers and new literary styles emerged, such as Lu Xun and his A Madman's Diary, the first modern Chinese short story. The vernacular was soon decreed a national language by the Ministry of Education. This victory signaled that China could shed its past and aspire to become a modern and thriving nation.
2 years later, the students who marched in the streets of Beijing on May 4, 1919, did so with a new sense of self-esteem, confident they could positively influence their country's future.
The manifesto distributed to astonished bystanders that day was written, of course, in vernacular. We, the people of China, have always been a peace-loving people.
Mao Zedong's first published writing, titled A Study of Physical Education, appears on New Youth magazine.
The article spelled out Mao's strong sense of nationalism and his obsession that the Chinese people could lose their country and become slaves without a state. This was the first of Mao's many efforts to stir an audience in taking action. Stimulating the self-awareness and will of the Chinese people became a constant theme. In both age and experience, Mao was part of the May 4th generation. He became an assistant librarian to Li Dajiao at Beijing University in 1918 and was quickly fascinated by new cultural intellectuals Chun Du-shu and Hu Shi. Mao was captivated by Western values as liberalism, democracy, and science. Like most Chinese radical intellectuals, he also had anarchist inclinations. In his essay, The Great Union of the Popular Masses, Mao defined Kropotkin's anarchist ideas broader and more far-reaching than those of Karl Marx. But Mao and other Chinese intellectuals discovered that communism did have a proven track record of successful revolution and transformation of society. This was a model that could also satisfy their strong sense of nationalism. With his idols Li Dajiao and Chun Du-shu, Mao became a founder of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Social Revolution did not end with the May 4th incident. It went on for 3 grueling decades. The revolutionary struggle was rewarded with victory in October 1949 when China was proclaimed a free and independent sovereign state in Tiananmen Square.
The Qing monarchy is surprisingly reinstated and 11-year-old Emperor Puyi is restored to the throne. Just as abruptly, Puyi abdicates 10 days later.
General Yuan Shikai's attempted imperial restoration had already been unsuccessful a year earlier. This time, the restoration was conceived by General Zhang Shun, a disciple of Yuan Shikai. He was known as the Pigtail General, as he refused to cut off his queue, a clear symbol of his loyalty to the Qing dynasty. The young republic had been a disappointment. Political and military groups were only interested in pursuing their own selfish agendas. While Parliament was consumed in endless discussions over joining the World War, General Shun saw this as an opportunity to reinstate the Qing dynasty and become its powerful regent. He promptly occupied Beijing with his pigtail army. Zhang Shun was supported by Kang Youwei, the well-known Chinese scholar and reformer. Kang strongly believed in constitutional monarchy and wanted to remodel China after the successful Meiji example of Japan. He was convinced that it would be easier and safer for China to move towards democracy by establishing first a constitutional government with the Qing emperor as its figurehead. Zhang Shun's maneuver caught everybody by surprise, including young Puyi. When the general asked to be received in royal audience, the 11-year-old was still unaware of the general's gambit. Puyi's reign was short-lived. The warlord General Duan Qirui quickly assembled a large military force and decisively defeated Zhang Shun's army. The Republic and the National Assembly were reinstated, and Duan Qirui reclaimed his role of Prime Minister.
The young republic survived. Whether constitutional monarchy would have been more appropriate for China, we will never know.